some members of parliament have raised concern regarding the sale of the East African Portland cement. Yes, a portion of the East African Portland cement is going to be sold to a company known as Kalahari Cement, which is then associated with another company known as Pacific Cement. Stay with me. And this Pacific Cement is affiliated to a tycoon known as Ibrahim Abdullah Muni. The main concern is not the sale. The main concern is the price at which it's going to be sold. So who owns the East African Portland Cement? When you look at this chart here, it's just showing you the main shareholders. In green, we have the National Treasury that owns around 25.6%. Then we have the National Social Security Fund that owns 27.3%. So they're the main stakeholders. In orange, we have NSC. So these are stocks that are currently being traded in the Nairobi Stock Exchange market. Then in purple here, we have Bamburi Cement. Bamburi Cement owns 12.6%. Remember, Bamburi Cement was sold to a Tanzanian company known as Amson's Group. So that company is the one that has this percentage here. We have another company that is highlighted here in pink known as Cementia Holding. We also have another company that is highlighted in red known as Associated International Cement Limited. So these two companies, Cementia Holding Company, which is a Swiss company, together with Associated International Cement Limited, which is a UK company, these two companies have decided to sell their shareholding. So this is the portion that is going to be sold to this Tanzanian tycoon. It's not the government that is actually selling their shares per se, but these two private entities that have owned these shares for decades. So the main concern, like I say, it's not really the sale, but the price of the sale. Because according to this agreement, these two companies are to receive 27 shillings and 30 cents per share. So what the members of parliament are contending here is that when you look at the value of this share, currently, when you look at it in the stock exchange market right now, let me just show you. The price for this share is around 61 shillings, 60 to 61 shillings. So them selling it at 27 shillings and 30 cents doesn't make sense. Okay, let's even be more lenient. When this agreement was being made around July, August this year, the value of the share then in the stock exchange market was around 41 shillings, 42 shillings there. So even if this agreement was made then, and the value of this share then was around 41 shillings, it's still a loss. So the question is this 27 shillings and 30 cents really reflecting the intrinsic value of this share? Because as investors, especially those in the stock exchange market, this 27 shillings is too low compared to the 61 shillings that the market is willing to buy right now. So the main concern here is that this price is going to drive the price of this stock to go down. And not just in the stock exchange market, in case the government might want to sell some of their shares to, let's say, a private company or even list it in the stock exchange market, it's going to affect the price at which the government is going to charge or receive in exchange for this share. So that's really the main concern. So what do you think? Do you think that this price is too low? Is it a throwaway price? And even if it's a throwaway price, what were these two companies thinking when they decided to come up with this number? Could it be that it might be the true value of this share, or something just happened that they don't want to have a stakeholding in this company? So I'm just going to give you a brief history of how this company has been performing, because you'll notice that they've not been doing well. They've not been doing well. And these two companies have had stakes in the East African Portland Cement Company for quite some time, for decades. So the fact that they are willing to opt out right now at a throwaway price could mean something. The East African Portland Cement was established back in the 1930s, and it was a subsidiary of one of the UK companies, to be specific, the Blue Circle Industries that is in the UK. So that was a subsidiary. It has been doing well. In the 1960s and in the 1970s, they were allocated land in Athi River. We're going to talk about that briefly because it affects everything. And they've been profitable all along until 2010. Previously, they didn't have competitors, but now we have Bamburi Cement and other key players in the industry, in the cement manufacturing industry, that came in. And remember, this is an old, let's say an old establishment. So they still had old machinery, which is one of the reasons as to why the company started making losses, that they had outdated equipment that needed upgrading. There was the issue of mismanagement of funds, and also some wrangles between board members. Another issue was that they were so much into debt that they were unable to pay electricity bill. They were unable to pay some of the salaries. They were unable to remit some of the taxes and NSSF. So they had to lay off some workers. They started making losses, and for the last 13 years, they've been making losses. That's why they were unable to pay out dividends if you own this stock. They only paid out this year a dividend of 1 shilling for every share that you owned, and it's as a result of the profits that they made last year, but they have been making losses all along. In fact, they started selling the parcels of land that was given to them in Athi River, because they viewed it as an asset that doesn't bring in any cash flow. It's like a dead asset. It's just bare land, to meet some of the obligations that they had. They even went ahead and started allocating parcels of land to some of their employees who they were unable to pay their pension. So you're being given land to compensate for your pension. And that's why you've probably seen it in the news that there were certain evictions that were being done. There were certain landowners who lost part of their property because the land that was allocated to some of their employees were unable to be paid their pension. The employees went ahead and sold part of this land, and we had owners who bought land from them. But then there was the issue of some land being sold illegally. So we had other investors who also bought land that wasn't supposed to be sold. So those guys lost their investment. So that's how it all ties down to the issues that you see in Athi River, that there are certain parcels of land that you should not buy, and they belong to the East African Portland. There's a lot going on there. So could it be that the fact that some of these issues that they've been facing are some of the reasons why these two companies would want to opt out? That the company is not as profitable as it used to be, and that these companies have held stakes at this company for quite some time, that the issues of corruption, the issues of mismanagement of funds, the issues of board members not aligning could be some of the issues that they have looked at, and they are willing to sell it or to sell part of their stake to any investor who is willing to buy. Could that be the issue? And the fact that these are just private companies, so they are not affiliated to the government, that even if they go ahead and decide this price of 27 shillings and 30 cents so that they can opt out, do you find this price reasonable? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments.